Okay, we're live. And I don't know if I can hear me. Hold on. All right, let me make sure I can see me. And where's me? Oh, it's the other thumbnail. Oh, man. Can I? You have to change the thumbnail after. Change that thumbnail after. I worked so hard on the notes for the episode. Wait, I didn't check the audio. Okay, good. Audio works. All right, let's here so I can see stuff. Okay, so where are my notes? Okay, so welcome back to the channel. I'm Minnie St. Clair, and I'm so glad you're here today. We're diving into a topic that's crucial to achieve financial peace: budget check-ins. We're just not going to talk about the numbers today. We're also going to discuss something that's really important that doesn't always get enough attention: how to manage your finances when you're living with an episodic disability and having to navigate Canadian disability benefits while pursuing financial success. Now, I have here in my notes, it took me a long time. I'm going to read as many of them as I can. In today's episode, we're going to break down how to do a monthly budget check-in and stay on track with a financial step-by-step plan, while also tackling the unique challenges of living with an episodic disability. Plus, we'll explore how you can work with Canadian disability benefits to make the most of your situation. Financial situation, not the other situations. That's a whole different topic. This is a topic that doesn't always get enough spotlight, but managing your finances while living with a disability is possible. I've been on the journey since 2017, documented on the channel. I got insights, strategies, and practical tips for you to make financial journey a little easier, even with the challenges life throws at you. Life will throw challenges. Okay, so first, we're going to overview the Dave Ramsey baby steps. This is the foundation of how I organize everything I do with my finances as the current financial mentor that's available online today. Okay, Dave Ramsey baby steps. Step 1, save $1,000 for your starter emergency. Step 2, pay off all debt except the house using the debt snowball. The debt snowball is paying off your debt based on balance, smallest to largest, and average about 18 to 24 months. The first time I found the Dave Ramsey baby steps, I paid off $8,000 in 9 months on an income less than $30,000 a year. Step 3, save 3 to 6 months of expenses in a fully funded emergency fund. What I learned yes, I had 3 months of emergency fund savings, but I also learned that I needed a buffer account. I also needed to pay my rent a month in advance. And I also needed savings 3 to 6 months specifically for my business. I'm a self-employed freelancer, and I need to make sure that the business has its own emergency fund and I have my own emergency fund. And also, with the fluctuation of my income, the Hill and Valley buffer curveball account that I have covers usually minimum payments on credit cards, groceries, or any of the days in the month that I may have a flare-up or episodes or symptoms living with a disability. Step 4, this is the fun part. investing 50% of your household income in retirement. So I started investing in 2020. Yeah, 2020. And for me, because I have a disability, it's applying for the disability tax credit, then opening the registered disability savings plan. That's one of the accounts I have to invest 15% of my household income into retirement. There's also the registered retirement savings plan, tax-free savings account, and there's also the new first home savings account. And then I also added a taxable broker account in my investing for the purpose of what I call my FU exit disability fund. Baby step 5 is save for your children's college fund. If you're living a child-free life by choice or circumstances, this step becomes optional, but it's a good idea being in Canada to look at the registered education savings plan because you could help people you know invest for their children's education. And the Canada Registered Education Savings Plan, as I did more research on it, has very interesting time limits and rules for you while you have a child that's under the age of 17. It's just something to look into. If you have children and they're under the age of 17, look into opening your registered education savings plan for their future so that you can hopefully stop them from going into student loan debt. Baby step 6. We're paying off your home early. Now, if you don't own a home, this is something you want to consider. The time is going to pass anyway. You might as well make the savings plan to invest in your financial future of buying your first home or paying off your mortgage or buying your second home. It kind of really depends on where you are financially. Do you want to be renting forever? I don't want to be renting forever. This is why baby step 6 is kind of like, okay, how do I put that in action for me and living with a disability? Now, I didn't mention it earlier, but I am on the Ontario Disability Support Program, and in the policy directive, there is a section that you can have a primary residence. You can also have another residence if you can prove to Ontario Disability Support Program it is for the purpose of your disability well-being. It's section 4.2, real property. Take a look at it. It's very funny. It's very interesting. It's something to consider on your financial journey. Now, baby step 7, build wealth and give. Now, giving really is the way Dave Ramsey teaches it. It's always in the budget. It's part of being a evangelical Christian, believing in the tithe. The tithe is 10%, and the tithing is before you take care of your basic needs, your food, your shelter, utilities, groceries, because you're honoring God and giving back to the kingdom. Now, once you're building wealth, you're baby step 7, you paid off all your debt, you paid off the mortgage, you have a lot of flexible income at that stage. It's the stage where people need to work towards, and I'm emphasizing the need to work towards. Being on government disability benefits, they typically keep you below the poverty line. You don't have to stay there. You can work a plan to get off of that system. This is a system I use to help me get off of the government system. And I like this system a whole lot better. Dave Ramsey Baby Steps gives me a lot of freedom and flexibility so I can dream and be productive and actually feel like worth living. So, each baby step builds on the last baby step, guiding you towards financial peace and independence. But today we're going to discuss how to apply these steps when your financial journey is complicated by disability and Canadian disability benefits, social assistance programs, and benefits. Now, I'm going to, hold on. Let me get this ready. Okay, back over here. So the Disability Policy Directive for Ontario Disability Support Program is a very long policy directive. So today I'm going to read you the preamble, because the preamble lets you know what is the purpose of the disability program and how it's supposed to be executed, and it shows you your rights and responsibilities. It also shows you your freedom, and it also gives you clues exactly how to become financially independent. This is the purpose of the channel. Show you how to become independent, show you exactly where the clues are, put them together so you can solve the puzzle. So January 2003, that's when it's been published. Usually on these websites for the government, you can see when they updated it, they published it. So this is published in March 28, 2022 on the website, but it's been active in the policy directive of Ontario Disability Support Program is 2023. Now this is to summarize the Ontario Disability Support Program Act of 1997. Checking to see if anybody chat. Okay, good. So it was created to meet the unique needs of people with disabilities. The program provides income support, including health and other benefits for people with disabilities in financial need. The program also provides employment supports to help people with disabilities prepare for, obtain, or maintain a job. It also has supports for self-employment for small business owners, which is Section 5.4 self-employment. The intent of the program is to provide the supports necessary to enable individuals and families to live as independently as possible in the community and lead more productive, dignified lives. Now, when I first read this, I laughed. Wait, hold on. The reason I laughed, Ontario Disability Support Program right now is $1,368 a month. That's supposed to cover your shelter costs, which is $582. And I'll show you the spreadsheet how it breaks down. Okay, don't be alarmed. This is my new 2025 budget planning for Ontario Disability Support Program for what I'm eligible for. So it says here, shelter calculation, $582. Then it says basic needs, $786. That is the $1,368 that you get for being eligible for Ontario Disability Support Program if you're a single person, not married, and no children. So back to the preamble. The preamble here, let me do full screen. The preamble here says dignified lives. With my year of 2024 and part of 2025 of being on disability, it takes a lot of effort to reach the level of feeling like you're being treated dignified with the Ontario Disability Support Program. It's just kind of how the system is set up. Don't, be discouraged by it. It's just something that if you're on it or know someone who's on it, it's better to be educated, informed, so you can make your own action plan. And the rest of the preamble goes on to the Ontario Disability Support Program Act, and the regulation provided the legislative framework for realizing a separate system of income and employment supports for people with disabilities. The reason they separated them, the Ontario Works Act is typically for people that are I should read that preamble. Never mind. I'm not even going to guess what that is. We'll read that one too, so we know the comparisons. The legislation states that the purpose of the ODSP Act is to provide income and employment supports to eligible persons with disabilities. Recognize that government, communities, families, and individuals share responsibilities for providing such supports, effectively serve people with disabilities who need assistance, be accountable to the taxpayers of Ontario. Part of the reason why I show exactly what I get from Ontario Disability Support Program to break down misinformation, stigma, judgment, farce, false narratives around disability in Canada, especially in one of the richest provinces in Canada, Ontario. and to also educate people on Ontario Disability Support Program, you have options. These are your options. Figure out how to make the best decision for you based on the information, and I'm showing you where the information is. It's not hidden. It's not locked away. You don't need a secret map to go find it. It's right here in front of everybody right now. So policy directives provide the interpretation and application of the legislative and policy requirements of the program. The policy directives will guide provincial staff in the delivery of the Ontario Disability Support Program. News policy directive will be issued on regulation and policy change. Now, when I read provincial staff in the delivery of Ontario Disability Support Program, I laughed again because I use the same policy directive that I, go through, study, analyze, plan. For me, as a benefit unit of Ontario Disability Support Program, as a single person, no children, not married. And that's important because if you're single with children, you get a different amount from ODSP. And if you're married, you get another amount from ODSP. And if you're married but your spouse is working, that affects your ODSP payments and benefits and things that you access. And then if you're disabled couple, that's different. And then if you're a couple that has children, that's also different. Then there's also you're single or married with children, and then your children develop a disability. It could be generational. I'm trying to break that generational cycle of poverty, and the only way to do that is to get you educated on what's there. And I really hope it's getting the wheels turning of, oh yeah, I should go read the Ontario Disability Support Program Act. The website's nicer, it's easier to read. Then there's also the policy directive that updates changes as it happens. The purpose of the policy is to enable consistent decision making across the province and to ensure accountability for those decisions. The policy directive provides staff with guidance they need to make decisions regarding clients' entitlement to services and support benefits. So just like the policy directive is supposed to help province staff members, the caseworker or the director, that's what it says in the policy, to issue the benefits that you're entitled to in Ontario Disability Support Program, read the same information that they have so you can make the same decisions yourself. Or get AI to read it for you, or get a friend to read it for you, or you can also get your caseworker in disability to print off copies of the policy for you. They've done that for me 5 times reading section 5.4, self-employment. That is how all of this started. Me reading section 5.4 over and over and over again. Then I started reading other sections of the policy to better plan my financial life. Better decisions, benefits, ODSP legislation and policies allow for discretion in many areas. So the discretion is actually the discretion of the caseworker or the director who's issuing you those benefits, like employment startup benefit, special diet, medical necessities form, like for my CPAP machine. But you can also make an appeal if you don't like their decision. And depending on your caseworker and how your office operates, depending on how well you communicate and present your argument, you can actually persuade the decision in the discretion for your benefit. In keeping with the spirit of the legislation, staff should use the discretion to ensure that clients receive all the benefits to which they are entitled. Oh, okay. That makes sense why things worked out the way they did this year. In accordance with its purpose of providing income support persons with disabilities, the ODSP Act regulation and policy should be interpreted flexibly and broadly. That explains so much. I just learned something new right now. Okay. ODSP services will be provided based on the client's individual needs and circumstances, consistent with the intent of Ontarians with Disabilities Act 2001. Barriers to accessing ODSP must be removed. are minimized so that all clients are able to benefit from the services available. Clients should be provided with the accommodation required to address disability-related needs. Such accommodations may include using alternative communication formats, allow flexibility of timelines and human supports, such as sign language interpreter. Staff with provide clients with clear and up-to-date information about ODSP, as well as other community services available in order to assist people with disabilities to live, work, and participate in their communities. I have some things to say about that section. I have things to say. So sometimes, especially during the Canada Post strike that we just finished, because ODSP is not back to normal, but it's kind of normal. I was in the office. So if I go to the disability office for my location, sometimes that place is really, really loud because some people on ODSP, they kind of live in that location when the office is open. So I can't hear anything. Like I'm trying to concentrate and hear what they're saying and understand it and how does it affect me and how do I get my benefits? Do I get my entitlements? Do I get my requests made? Sometimes I can't. So then I have to go back, or I have to use the ODSP system called My Benefits and send them a message or fax them a letter, or you kind of have to use all of the services available to communicate with your disability office, depending on what you're requesting. And sometimes certain forms, they're rejected because the doctor didn't fill them out correctly, and I'm trying to make sure I get all the information of how the doctor's supposed to fill out the forms, like the special diet or the medical necessities transportation form, which is also the medical necessities form. It's basically one form. The top half is the transportation, so everything that's medical related for transportation costs, like going to appointments and rehab, treatment, my AAA meetings, anything I do that supports my disability goes in that section. Then the bottom half is all medical supplies, like my CPAP machine, the compression socks. If you have diabetes, you would get the testing strips or the testing machine. If you had tubing, for basically like any of the medical supplies is the bottom half of that piece of paper. That piece of paper, if you get a blank copy of it from your caseworker, it's a good thing to keep multiple copies of for the lifetime of you being on ODSP and communicating with them. Same thing with special diet. Most things on these forms you can fill out for indefinite. Your doctor is filling out that section, not you. And because the doctor has to sign off on everything on the form, and then the forms, they bill the province and they get paid from the government for filling out these forms. If a doctor is saying that you have to pay them to fill out the form, it's not true. They bill the government pays them. The budget for that is what the budget is. Their job is to fill out the form so you can access the things in the policy that you're entitled to. Now, my disability is multiple sclerosis, bipolar, ADHD, sleep apnea, agoraphobia, all the invisible mental challenges. There's physical, but they're still invisible because my multiple sclerosis relapse and remitting, but it's not really it's not progressive. So I look fine to people that have a conversation with me and they think I'm fine. No, I'm using a lot of brain power to function every single day. Even this whole life. A lot of brain power in this to explain the preamble. We're only at the preamble. This is just the preamble. We're not going to the policy. So you really don't know what a person's disability is. There's like 5 different kinds of disabilities, like categories of disability. And you don't get to decide what that is because you're not that person's medical professional. And even if you are let's say you're going to a friend's appointment for support, that is your job. You go there for support. You're not being diagnosed. You're not taking the treatments. You're not following the recommendations. You're not dealing with the side effects. You're not going to the dentist to hope they cover you because your insurance is disability. and ODSP. Now that there's Canada Dental Plan in the federal government, going to the dentist is a little bit easier now, but it wasn't like that before. Then prescriptions. Not every prescription that someone is prescribed is covered under ODSP's health benefit. Sometimes people are online doing a GoFundMe or a PayPal donation to raise the money they need to bridge the gap from $1,368 a month to what they need to last the end of the month until they get paid the next payment date from Ontario Disability Support Program. And the reason I'm bringing that up, my budget, being on disability, is very unique to my circumstances and my God-given ability that I have. I know my journey has come this far because of the Holy Spirit. What I try to find out, how is this possible? How, every time I ask myself how, the answer is Holy Spirit, Jesus, God, all three of them working together to make this happen. And then me explain it to everybody, and I mean everybody, because most of the people that watch these videos are in America. Your SSDI program policy directives were different, but similar, but still different. And the principles in the video that I'm sharing, they can work. It's just a matter of what abilities do you have to make them work. If you are living with your disability and you are stuck in, I cannot do this, insert your excuses, you won't. Yes, you have a disability. Yes, it comes with challenges. Yes, sometimes it's difficult. It comes with external and internal circumstances. Most of the internal, like your mind, your body, your beliefs, your thoughts, your actions, are things you control to make living with a disability and accessing government benefits easier. And I'm looking at chat. If you're wondering, I'm not looking at the camera. I'm just looking at chat. So that makes things easier when you know what is under your control and not under your control, and then you focus on everything you can control. I just read you the preamble for Ontario Disability Support Program. And I said I would read the preamble for Ontario Works because they're different. But somebody could be living with a disability who's on Ontario Works, which used to be called the Welfare Program, and they changed it over time. Is this it? No, that is the Ontario Disabilities Program Act. Let me find it. Not preamble, policy directive. Because if I can easily find it live here, online, you can find it too. You can find it. Share the screen. Here we go. Ontario Works Policy Directive. Read the policy directive for administrators to follow when making decisions about eligibility and benefits under Ontario Works. Overview. They don't have a preamble? Oh, they don't have a big preamble like the disability one. Oh. So with me in Ontario Works, I was on it in 2004 up until 2008. Then I was able to work on my own for a little bit. Then I became mentally, not incapacitated, just psychotic. And then we applied for Ontario Works. Then we reapplied for Ontario Works. And while we reapplied for Ontario Works, we applied for Ontario Disability Support Program. That is 2011 I got approved for our ODSP. So for my whole adult life, I've been in and out of government assistance. And now we're trying to work our way off of it so I never have to go back. That is the mission. The Legislative Authority, Ontario Works Act 1997, the Act and related regulation provide the legislative framework for the provision of employment assistance and financial assistance to help people with temporary financial need. Now, that is typically for everybody. Like you're in between your job, you're new to the country, you're now eligible for benefits. This is supposed to help you get your stable feet wet, get out there, get a job, and then fly like a bird. But for some people on Ontario Disability Support Program, before they're approved for Ontario Disability Support Program, they're in the waiting period of being on Ontario Works. And Ontario Works is not really friendly for people with disabilities. This is why they split. So basically what they did, they split policy and they added disability for Ontario Works. And then the staff members, some of them, they came from Ontario Works, then they had to learn the policy for Ontario Disability Support Program. Some of those caseworkers are not that nice. They still work at this office, depending on which office in part of the province you're accessing. And I know they're not that nice because sometimes I have to communicate with these people. And sometimes it becomes a waiting game of me waiting till they're transferred to somebody else. So the Act establishes a program that recognizes individual responsibility to promote self-reliance through employment. This is employment supports in Ontario Disability Support Program. It doesn't say that, but they imply it. And they imply it when you read the Auditor General report of Ontario Disability Support Program. Provides financial assistance to those most in need while they meet obligations to become and stay employed. Yeah. This philosophy trickles over to Ontario Disability Support Program. Effectively serves people needing assistance, is accountable to the taxpayers. Remember when I read the preamble for ODSP? Provide income support and employment support to eligible persons with disabilities. The and employment support is key because the way ODSP is set up, the disability program, every couple of years or so, depending on the nature of your disability, you would go through a medical review. I had mine in 2017, right after my diagnosis of multiple sclerosis. So my doctor filled out the form based on what my disability is, what my limitations are. My disability is permanent. It's not going anywhere. It's permanent. And then I'm still on Ontario Disability Support Program. I have to go find my letter, but my letter basically says I'm on it. Okay, great. Keep being on it, type of thing. And then 2017 was also the time I moved over to employment supports for Ontario Disability Support Program, where I went through an employment agency. Then I went through a business incubator for self-employment that claims to help people on ODSP launch a business, when really all they do is 6 weeks. 6 weeks? No, it was 8 weeks in class, then follow up for 2 years with a mentor to go over your business plan. So the business I already have been operating since 2003, they pressured me to make a business plan to go through employment supports when all I needed to do was report my income and they determined if I'm eligible. This is also where they were sending me section 5.4 over and over again on repetition for 5 years. They finally stopped. But it's, I don't know how to describe it. It's just something you just have to stick with and be more empowered, be more educated, know what you want out of your life, and stick to a plan. So we read the Dave Ramsey baby steps. I got stuck in reading the policy directive preamble for Ontario Disability Support Program. I also wanted to show you the comparison of Ontario Works. So to cover the people that have a disability, but they're on Ontario Works. So Ontario Works pays them, when you're eligible, $733 a month. It does not increase with inflation. Ontario Disability Support Program increases with inflation in July if inflation has increased based on the measure of inflation that they're using. It's not the same inflation measure that the Bank of Canada is using. It's a different one because they had to make like 4 of them. I don't know why. I'm not really worried about it. I like when that happens in July, we'll talk about it. But for right now, we're supposed to be talking about my budget check-in for January. Okay, so setting up the monthly review of the budget. Let's find that. No longer on the preamble. No longer on that one. We went over the Dave Ramsey baby steps. Okay, so here is 2025's budget for January. It's a whole new template for the monthly budgets. And then the dashboard is the same. I still need to fill in all the stuff for January in the dashboard. But what I wanted to make sure is that it's now where I track it week to week. Before it was just 2 columns, planned and then actual, and then that was it. Now I'm trying to track everything week to week, depending on what happened week to week. And right now it's mostly tax credits came into my budget for my income. Someone bought me a coffee. Thank you very much for supporting the channel by buying me a coffee. It helps me bring content like this so I can plan and organize and use good software, and hopefully I can improve the lighting in the room so I can, deliver the content, deliver the education, and empower the people so families and individuals can choose their path to financial freedom even when living with a disability. And then non-people with a disability, you're more educated about what the policy says for social assistance in case you need it, because as I've been documenting my journey, as long as I have, I've encountered people that need this information because they fall through financial hardship and need to apply for government assistance, or they lose their housing, or their long-term, short-term disability from their employer is not kicked in or denied, or they're dealing. So some people that are employed, they have a caseworker for short-term, long-term disability from their employer. Then they also have a caseworker from Ontario Works or ODSP, depending on what their circumstances are. So I don't know a whole lot about short-term disability, long-term disability, but I do know that the policy directives and regulation for both kind of operate with the same stakeholders, advisory committee, government regulation. It's just lawyers, accountants, and then any of the charities that claim to help people with disabilities, but actually just have an invested interest in keeping people in poverty. Doing this now for 7 years, I notice a lot of things, and I can't put the cat back in the bag. So this part of the budget, I added giving, I added generosity. So we have housing, lifestyle savings, debt repayment. And then I added a whole line for giving based on my net income. I have to make sure I get it correctly. Net income from my business is being a webcam model. I tithe from that income. I don't tithe from tax credits, disability benefits, or the Canada disability benefit that's coming in July. I put that in there. It's coming in July. July 2025. Okay. And then I'm hoping that the intention is I stick with the Dave Ramsey baby steps, because it will set up a whole foundation of my entire financial future. And I totally admit, doing this journey, challenges that came up for me, a lot of false fear, a lot of catastrophizing, a lot of thought distortions that are not helpful in me moving forward. I need to embrace the challenges and know that I have the knowledge and skills and wisdom to become an unapologetic millionaire. You may have seen my social medias change to unapologetically becoming a disabled millionaire, because it's just what's part of the process of doing a financial plan and staying accountable and sticking with it and having the right financial advisors and not lean on the opinions of a caseworker in a disability office. Like the policy of the disability, like the job of the job and policy, I don't know. The caseworker at the disability office, their only job is to make sure I'm entitled to the benefits I'm eligible for. And then determine if my assets are too big or my income is too big to be eligible for the program. That's their main job. And then my job is to be productive and fruitful and multiply so I can exit out of government assistance. And if I can exit out of government assistance and I build up my assets and my portfolio and my net worth and my giving, I can give to people and charities I actually believe in. And because I have a disability, when I access certain programs or community agencies or nonprofits, I have way more information that I want to ask these people instead of just follow them blindly with their mission statements. Because one, I'm not going to give charities money just because they need a donation for Giving Tuesday in November. I also need to make sure that they're actually financially supporting people to be self-reliant. Like, it's very different if you have a disability where you're mentally incapacitated to not be able to make financial decisions for yourself. But I've met people with a disability. Yes, their disability is super, super challenging for them. But we can have a full coherent conversation and they make sense that they could create a career or a profession that has them in a position to not rely on government assistance. Like the excuses that I hear of people on assistance, in government assistance. Yeah, I don't believe them because of my situation. And I built a lot of personal development, coaching, therapy, resources, community programs, surrounded by people who believe in building wealth. Like, I know it's there. It's there if you work for it to access it. It's just, how badly do you want to have a life of not being in poverty? It's just, I'm working on words to describe the newfound knowledge and experience and wisdom I've developed over 7 years. It's a lot. We'll figure out how to share it all. Okay, so giving, housing. So housing for me is like very, very, very simple. Review expense reports. Okay, so my income is webcamming for my online business, then disability benefits and tax credits. Sometimes mom, dad, and grandma will give money as a gift. Then sometimes people will buy me a coffee. Every dollar that comes in the household has an assignment. Then if it's the business income, it's reported to ODSP on my profit and loss statements in my accounting software. And then gifts, depending on who sent it and when they sent it, and if I have confirmation that they sent it, that also gets reported to the disability office. Every income I receive, no matter the source, is reported to ODSP to determine my eligibility and what category does it fall into. There is fully exempt assets, partial exempt assets, then there's treatment of income policy directive, then treatment of assets policy directive, then deductions from employment, then deductions from self-employment. Then there is the whole section of real estate and property. They cover every financial decision of your life. And I don't know how many times I have to say that, but there's people out there giving advice or opinions that they don't do that. And I can prove it to you 1,000,001 ways that they monitor every financial aspect of your life. Like for the financial advisors out there and the financial planners out there that are working with people with disabilities, and they may be on Ontario Disability Support Program, but they may be on the Alberta program, they may be on the Nova Scotia program, they may be on the Saskatchewan program, or they may be on the British Columbia program. They watch every penny you have. I should have been on full screen to say that, but yeah. Okay, and my savings, My savings now, I'm focusing on my emergency fund and my FU exit disability fund. That's exactly what I labeled it because that's exactly what it means. Then my investments. So I have my registered disability savings plan, my segregated fund, tax-free savings account, segregated fund, first home savings account, segregated fund, registered retirement savings account. Now, let me full screen here. The reason I have segregated funds, it is part of the policy directive of Ontario Disabilities Program, Section 4.8 life insurance, as an exempt asset, up to $100,000. I'm going to quickly show you where it is in the policy so you know where it is, and then you can go read it on your own time. Here, Section 4.8, Ontario Disability Support Program Policy. It is different for Ontario Works. If you read and you see Ontario Works and then you see Section 4.8 life insurance, everything in that section for Ontario Works is completely different than Ontario Disability Support Program. Summary of the policy. Funds up to $100,000 held in a trust that are derived from an inheritance or the proceeds of a life insurance policy received upon the death of the policyholder are not considered assets for the purpose of determining financial eligibility for income support. Interest earned from such a trust and reinvested into the trust is not considered income. Cash surrender value of the life insurance policy up to $100,000 is not considered an asset for the purpose of determining financial eligibility for income support. Life insurance policies which have no cash surrender value are also exempt. A loan taking against a life insurance policy which is used for director approved disability related items or services is not considered an asset. The $100,000 is combined maximum of inherited funds, in trust, proceeds of life insurance policies, and the cash surrender value of an owned insurance policy. So I own my insurance policies for each of my accounts I mentioned. My financial planner, who is licensed with an LLQP, Life License Quality Program. I need to go find that thing, because it is something I would like to achieve on my own. But I remember they added a H in the letters now. LLQP License Ontario. Okay, good. Life License Qualification Program. To open a segregated fund, there's only 2 banks of the big 5 banks that do it. BMO and I think RBC. I don't recommend going into a bank to open that account. But if you are super excited about what I told you and you go into a bank to open your segregated funds, you can do that. But I recommend searching for a financial advisor or a financial planner, a certified financial planner. Basically, it's the credentials they take and how they approach giving you financial advice. I work with someone who has a heart of a teacher and who's also willing to learn what I know about the policy for being on Ontario Disability Support Program so we can best customize my financial plan for my financial circumstances. And that's probably a whole separate video on itself, but not really. Just know that every financial product there is a better way for you to get that information for your financial circumstances. It takes work. Everything I teach you today takes work. Like work. Whether you spell it WORK or WERK, it takes work. And no, it's not going to drop in your lap. It's not going to, if you want a better life of living with a disability, you have to create it within the policy directives. And it helps if you follow the Dave Ramsey baby steps. This is why I made so much progress in 7 years. I want to say it takes work. I don't understand. Yeah. Okay, so we review my expenses, budgeting tools. So for budgeting, I use my spreadsheet and EveryDollar from Dave Ramsey. log into my EveryDollar real quick so you know what it looks like for January. Okay, here is EveryDollar. I've been using EveryDollar for the entire duration of my financial independence journey. I like this budgeting app because it works on my iPhone. And then, so like when I'm out, sometimes I'll put in if I spent $15 buying Patty Express. This typical thing I would spend in my budget. And it goes in there. Because I also use my bank cards and my debit cards, my prepaid cards, spending with cash. It's easier when I'm home now to log those transactions manually for me in the EveryDollar app. And then I also put it in my spreadsheet just because it keeps me on track. It keeps me focused on the vision. It keeps me focused on, you want financial independence. This is how you're going to get it. So that's how that works. Nope. Oh, my thumbnail. Oh, I didn't get to show my thumbnail, but there's my thumbnail. This is the thumbnail that should be on the channel. I will upload it as soon as we're done here. Okay, so we did review expenses, review my income. So like I said, my primary income is me working as a webcam model. That is business income. Then I have to determine my expenses for operating my business so that I can produce more income. Then I send in my profit and loss statement to the disability office. And the same profit and loss statement that I have is also a copy I have ready for the CRA for any expenses I claim on business. The big thing about all of this is, especially if you're self-employed, is keeping good records. Because you will need it when any of the government, whether Ontario or the federal government, asks us for receipts. I don't know when they'll ask, but they do ask. So keep a good system of keeping records and receipts. I believe CRA, like there's a record keeping page on the Canadian government website, then whatever that says, send copies to Ontario Disabilities Program. Now, I need to go to section 5.4. You see what I'm talking about? It's the whole income thing. Me explaining income. Okay, here's section 5.4, self-employment, Ontario Disabilities Program Policy Directive for Income Support. The summary of the policy: an applicant or recipient who earns income from a business may be eligible for income support and increased business asset exemptions as approved by the director. The director is your caseworker. Earnings exemption and deductions for childcare and disability-related expenses are applied to the net monthly income from the operating of a business in order to determine the amount of income support payable to the recipient. For each month that an ODSP recipient or eligible member of the benefit unit has a net positive income from the operations of a business, they're eligible for the $100 work-related benefit. I believe I should be getting that on the next payment date, $100 work-related benefit for the payment date January 31st. We will know in the February budget if I receive it or not. There's also a way that you could be eligible for the work-related benefit, but if you carry a balance for an overpayment in the system of ODSP, they can override that $100 work-related benefit and apply it to your overpayment. And you don't know when that's going to happen. It just happens in the system. So don't always count on the $100 work-related benefit if you have an overpayment in ODSP or Ontario Works. So because some people could transfer from Ontario Works to ODSP with an overpayment, and the collection of the overpayment follows you in Ontario Disabilities Program. I know there's a lot of stuff to remember, but I have to remember this stuff every day. Every day I have to remember these things, my personal circumstances. Now you get to learn about it and help somebody else. Okay, so we did self-employment, we covered income, fluctuations, I covered that. So me being a webcam model, my income fluctuates. I'm tracking my income in a different way, being a webcam model. Also, me making a separate income tracker in a spreadsheet is a nice way that I can show you what's going on with my income fluctuations for being self-employed, and also running a business as a webcam model for 22 years and counting. And I've just been finding this nice. I only work 2 websites now. I used to work 4. I had to reduce my work schedule and make it easier for me and more productive. So I work two live streaming adult webcam sites, and I just track what it is, and it gives me this nice little pie chart, which is nice. And I will talk about that in a later video, but that's just how I keep track of my fluctuation of income and insights, and how do I, manage unpredictable income. But even if my income is unpredictable, it doesn't stop me from being a good budgeter or practicing budgeting or sticking to the financial baby steps of Dave Ramsey or anything in the policy directive of ODSP. Whether you make a penny or not, you have to report it. Plus, Ontario Disabilities Program also has a thing in there where you have to report, did you leave the province for more than 30 days? Every time you log into My Benefits, it'll ask you this wonderful declaration question. And as much as I would go read the policy directive to show you where it is, I'm not going to. We've been talking for an hour, and I would like to get through the other expenses. Expenses on the budget, progress of the Dave Ramsey baby steps, adjustments and insights, and then my conclusion. So we have a lot to cover. Okay, where's expenses? Reviewing expenses. Go back to the budget. We're gonna go and do this in EveryDollar, since I need to correct my EveryDollar spending. So the way EveryDollar works, so when you get it, you automatically get a budget template in it, and then you can customize it. So like I added the giving fund, my housing expenses, I have it match my spreadsheet where rent control, tenant insurance, hydro is electricity bill, health and dental insurance. So here's also the interesting thing about being on government assistance. Their health insurance benefit plan for dental, prescriptions, and vision is limited. I did the math, it's about 40% coverage. Then depending on what medical expenses you have, you're applying for exceptional access program or the assisted device program, or, gifts from various charities, people, organizations helping you cover your medical expenses. The way my budget is working with ODSP, I can now hopefully maintain a health insurance plan, a private premium plan. I spent 2 years calling insurance agents who specifically sell health insurance or critical illness insurance to find me a plan that I'm comfortable with. I found it from 2 company providers. I will let you know who they are for me when they're active. I'm hoping they'll be active the first week of February. And once that's in place, I get to enjoy chiropractor, physiotherapy, massage therapist, acupuncture, all the things I need to manage my health and well-being. And my health insurance premium for critical illness, health, and dental will be a business expense. Being a business owner, speak to an accountant who understands those things. That information is also on the TurboTax blog and most insurance websites. It's a good idea to work towards having a supplemental health insurance while on Ontario Disabilities Program. Because if you reach a level where your income is too high, above the $1,368 a month, then you won't be eligible in that month that happens. Then you need to make an application for transitional health benefits to cover your existing prescriptions. Then anything else you need living with a disability and aging and life happening and things to make your symptoms less prominent, the word I'm looking for, present, then you need alternative treatments. You need like paramedical services, and those are not covered in the province or the government programs that we have. I spent obsessively years looking because I got told it would be covered, and I'm telling people it's not covered. And then I was like, I'm arguing with people who actually don't care that it's not covered because they're not looking that it's not covered. And they only look it's not covered when they need those services. When you need those services and it's not covered in your insurance plan, it is too late. This is where you need to have in the budget, they call a sinking fund, which I do. I now added a medical expenses fund in my account, and it's attached to a debit card specifically for that purpose of medical expenses. Like 2024, when I had the chiropractor and I'm paying for the chiropractor services, I would specifically use that card, debit card, cash off the card to pay for the chiropractor services. And then now that I need compression socks and I need to get measured for compression socks, that means finding a physiotherapist that deals with hypertension lymphedema to measure my thigh and my leg and all that so I can be fitted properly for the right compression socks. Then fill out the medical necessities form from Ontario Disabilities Program and hopefully get it approved, either approved by ODSP or approved by Ontario Government's Assisted Device Program. It's a lot of forms, a lot of paperwork, a lot of knowing what you need and when you need it and how to access it. Also on my ODSP spreadsheet budget, there's a section on there that I call my income estimator calculator. For me, I put in exactly what I get from ODSP. Then when it changes with inflation, this is the big yellow box in the middle where it's $1,739. Then the way the rules are, if you earn $1,000 net income, your income is partially exempt. Above $1,000, then it reduces by 75%. So I made the spreadsheet automatically calculate increments of income increasing by $250. So I would know, I heard a noise, I would know when I would be ineligible for ODSP based on how much income I earn in a specific month. And this will change with inflation, and it changes based on how much I need to access from ODSP. Like if I need to access more for special diet or transportation, because it's the total amount you receive. And like I said, my total amount I receive, to break down the $1,739, it's, I added the work-related benefit. Oh, well, I'm guessing if I'll get my work-related benefit. So on a month, I don't get the work-related benefit. 786 is basic needs. 156 is mandatory special necessities. If you think about the mandatory special necessities, if you're not eligible for ODSP in a month, you still get it. This is mandatory. And I experienced that during the pandemic. So there's just new things I experienced that I'm like, oh, okay, this makes sense. For me anyway. Then there's 582 shelter. My rent is $994.07 February 1st. It doesn't cover all of it. It's just, but I'm getting the maximum. That's what the caseworker said. The caseworker said I'm getting the maximum. So I don't know how that works. 215 is special diet. This is where the form has it where, it's also the same form for Ontario Works. The form has it where, depending on your health conditions, requiring a special diet to manage that health condition, doctor will fill it out. And if your condition changes or you develop a different condition or additional conditions, it will add up the total amount. So remember what you're originally getting. Like I originally get allergic to milk, dairy, gluten, wheat allergies, which was $129 for that. Then with the hypertension, hyperlipidemia category, we added $86 a month for a total amount of $215. And the doctor wrote it as indefinite. So the caseworker at the time that issued it said it was indefinite till 2034. I'm okay. I'm all right for 10 years. I'm not really worried about it. And hopefully by then I'm not on ODSP in 10 years, but at least that is secured for the next 10 years of receiving it. Yeah, then I try to budget exactly using the zero-based budgeting principles for ODSP. And then here where it says 1,000, let me zoom in a little. Where it says $1,000, that is the net income threshold for earning income and staying eligible on ODSP. Then I just budget it into the month as if it happened already. So I'm acting as if. So when it happens, I'm not surprised. And there's a plan for the intentional income I intend to make for 2025. Okay, expenses. We cover those. I'm not going over needs and wants. You've already seen how I categorize needs and wants. Lifestyle category, then I have 12 subcategories in lifestyle, which are groceries, grocery delivery. You heard about my medical expenses, debit card, restaurants, transportation, laundry services, household items. That's like one category for me, all three things. Lingerie, clothes, shoes. You need clothes, you need shoes. Socks, lingerie, all one category. I bought winter boots. Very happy about my winter boots. Hair and makeup, beauty treatments. Yeah, dry skin, get it treated. Don't just run around with dry skin and just be all itchy. Not pretty. It's just not pretty. Then home gym, fitness apps, and classes. Because living with a disability also comes with recommendations from the doctor who's monitoring the disability, it's a good idea to fit them in the budget. Like supplements. Vitamin D is not covered in Ontario government anything. Either you get it on the pharmacy over the counter, make sure you get the right unit amount, and the right prescription amount. I'm taking 10,000 IUD units, so that's about 2 a day or 3 a day if I take over the counter and I get the 1,000 unit bottle. And then I try to get buy one, get one half off on Seniors Day in the pharmacist. Or I use my PC Optimum points to help me get my supplements for that. Then there's B12 shots. That happens in the doctor's office. Luckily, that B12 shots, the injections are covered by ODSP or the Ontario government. Then there may be iron infusions. Whatever the recommendation is to make your health better, do them and figure out how to plan it in your budget consistently. Then there's entertainment. Then there's social events I want to go to. Then there's my guilt-free spending, and that's my lifestyle category. And then with the baby steps, we'll cut back on certain things in my lifestyle category because we need to make sure I pay off my credit card debt. Credit card debt right now is about $15,000. I need to make sure we stick with the debt snowball and pay off that credit card debt in 18 to 24 months. Which means we'll cut back on entertainment. We'll cut back on anything that's not health related. Which is, well, yeah, just entertainment and social events and restaurants. But with my symptoms with my disability, sometimes I physically cannot stand and cook the entire time. So restaurants is limited to twice a month. So I give myself a little bit of a break of standing in a hot kitchen trying to cook a meal that I have to remember not to burn because I may forget because there's lesions in my brain. Yeah. So it's just living life with a disability is being really, really, really self-aware of what you have, what you can do, and focusing on what you have and what you can do while being the person you want to be so you're not dependent on the government. Like, I got sick and tired of living on less than $1,000 a month Because disability at one point was $1,069 a month for me. It took a long time to get to $1,368 a month. And it took trial and error to access special diet, mandatory necessities, mandatory special necessities form. It took it took a while, and then figuring out if I earn money, I can, and I net profit in my business, they'll add on $100. Then at one point, the rules in Ontario Disabilities Program was if you made $1, they cut back your ODSP by 50%. That has changed. They changed it to $200. And they change it again in 2023. If you earn $1,000, you can remain on benefits and then still keep your ODSP. And if you earn more than that, earning more money on your own is a good thing. Don't let them try to trick you that it's not. Then, as you earn more income, treatment of assets in the policy directive of Ontario Works and Ontario Disabilities Program, go read them so you know how to build wealth. And then go read section 4.8 life insurance. So what? You can build wealth. Remember Build Wealth and Give, baby step 7? There's a way to do it on disability benefits. It's within the secrets of how to build wealth with the disability are in the policy directive of the disability benefits that you're accessing. Just you sign your life away for it. I found one of the documents where you signed consent to give permission so that Ontario Works or ODSP can access Revenue Canada Agency, which is your income tax return, your notice of assessment. You sign that away. Then they check your credit report. Then they check if you have a motor vehicle. Any public record that they can access, and you apply for Ontario Works or ODSP or even short-term disability, depending on how that policy application works. When you sign on that dotted line, did you read what you signed, or you just signed because you were, desperate in need of financial resources? Because you should really see what you signed, because that is your life in that paper for the rest of your life, being eligible for those benefits. Yeah. Okay, so emergency fund, we're working on baby step 1 right now. If you're wondering what part of the baby steps I'm on in my progress of financial independence, living with disability, it's baby step 1. I'm going to rebuild my emergency fund, then pay off my credit card debt. Then we'll get back to building my fully funded emergency fund for personal. While I'm doing baby step 1 and baby step 2, I have to make sure the business has its own savings account, because I have to feed the golden goose. Golden goose is me working as a webcam model. I need to make sure the golden goose is funded and happy and healthy and all that, so it produces a lot of golden eggs. Yeah, so I need to keep my golden goose happy. Then whatever produces from the golden goose, that makes sure I can follow the baby steps and then build wealth and give, so that you see me progress on this journey to financial peace and independence. Okay, I can go on a lot. An hour and 13 minutes. That's nice. We got up to progress on the baby steps. Oh, adjustments and insights. We've been talking about that the entire time. Like I said, consider setting up a sinking fund for medical expenses. They can be large, unpredictable part of your budget. You can put a small amount in each month to cover future costs without stressing out when they arise. I determined that's $100 a month, because my CPAP machine cost me $775. Then $250 of that was not being approved to be covered by Ontario Disability Support Program, because the caseworker at that time said no to $250 that the doctor said I needed so they could remote access my CPAP machine. But then I found out from the vendor that a previous customer of hers had it approved, and then I had to run around to find 125, because she was able to reduce it to 125 for me because I'm on Ontario Disability Program. And yeah, so medical expenses, I'm noticing $100 a month, $1,200 a year covers most things, or at least it's enough money to put down a deposit or a down payment on the thing you need, the medical device, so you can make more money to buy the medical device that you need. And prescriptions, so the vitamin D prescription is $20, $25, depending on how much I need and how long the prescription is for. Most things are covered. Like my multiple sclerosis medication is covered, but if it wasn't covered, it's $2,000 a month. So then I need to bump up my medical expenses to $200 a month. So then I determined the final number for my medical expenses account is $5,000. Just based on knowing all of my circumstances, my health conditions, prescription history, how much they cost, asking the pharmacist. So I will ask the pharmacist when they run their prescription how much the item costs if I was not insured, and they would tell me. And you can determine if you're getting brand name or generic. Well, yeah, it's anywhere from $100 to $200 saving just to keep it there for medical expenses. And that's not your emergency fund. That is not like other things in your budget. That's not insurance. That is just covering your medical expense obligation as a person living with a disability that has prescription cost. And because you're diagnosed probably before you have an employer insurance benefit, because you're on government insurance benefits, you have to bridge the gap. That is what you're responsible for. And the more in tune you are with your budget every single month, then you know what to plan for. And it's not a surprise. And if it's not a surprise, the Buy Me a Coffee is just to support the content creator to produce more content on the channel to educate everybody what it is to live with a disability. Yay! So, okay, what did we talk about? Today we talked about how to conduct a monthly budget review while staying aligned with the Dave Ramsey baby steps. We also discussed strategies for overcoming the unique financial challenges of living with a permanent, episodic, invisible disability. If you enjoyed this episode today, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and share this with someone who might benefit from the information. And if you're living with a disability or facing similar challenges, I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below. I've been on live for an hour and 17 minutes and looks like nobody was in chat. That's okay. If you're on the replay, leave your comments. I will take a look at them, so it'll help me plan out the next episode. And hopefully I can be on time, because I should have been on like 2 hours ago. But preparing for the show took a little bit longer than I expected. So I'm experimenting with a new show format. And I'm hoping I can do this every other week. So today's the 14th of January. I would like to be back here Tuesday, January 28th. I'm aiming for between 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. And we will figure out what we're going to talk about in that time frame. And yes, if you're on the replay and you have comments to share, put in the questions. We can create an episode out of the questions, so that'll help. Managing finances with a disability takes time, patience, and flexibility. But remember, you're not alone. Keep moving forward no matter what. No matter how small the steps may seem, it's progress over perfection. And if you keep moving forward with the Dave Ramsey baby steps, you will see your financial life change in ways you never saw before, because you're listening to people that have an invested interest in keeping you poor in the poverty system called Ontario Disability Support Program and Ontario Works. Because I don't know what reality someone is living off of $1,368 or $733 a month. It's not me. I'm working. We are working. Is it still working if it's WERKING? I think it is. I need to ask RuPaul if it's still working. If it's okay. Thanks for joining me today. And remember, you're not alone on this journey. Take one step at a time, and I'll see you on the next episode.